Let's start with a short intro though. So, for everyone who doesn't
Sorry.
know, yeah, no, it's all right. This is ChaseShaco. He's a high level league player, full time streamer. Are you? I mean, full time, but you're also a student. So, why don't
No,
you
I'm
give a
just
little
full
bit of?
time now. Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay, awesome. Oh, you graduated?
Yeah.
Oh, congrats. Welcome to
Thanks.
adulthood. Yeah. So why don't you give us a little bit of background? You know, like your history, your background, what you've been up to, and some of the issues you've had.
Yeah. So I attended University of Louisville on a cheerleading scholarship when I was 18, right out of high school, and then my stream took off. I guess when was that? It was like halfway through my second year at Louisville, doing competitive cheer there, which is gymnastics mainly, tumbling and stuff like that, which is already not great on your joints. And then my stream took off, and I kind of decided to pursue streaming full time. But yeah, my joints have definitely suffered over the years as a result of that.
Did you have any actual injuries?
No, it's mainly just been, I think it's just repetitive um, range of motion issues from sitting in one spot and stuff like that.
Okay. And then right now you mentioned some discomfort, pain going from your neck down to your arm. First thing we'd want to rule out is, are you having any like numbness, tingling, any nerve issues?
In terms of numbness,
Yeah.
it's specifically in my, yeah, it goes down through my hand, and
Okay.
that's when I play worse. Yeah,
Okay.
mainly my right one, my mouse hand.
What
Like it takes me
area?
a while.
Yeah. What part of your hand?
I mean, all of it, honestly. It's like it's not good. I spend probably 2 to 3 hours every single day, like trying to get my shoulders mobilized, my back. A lot of my breathing over the years, I've noticed, has gotten I don't breathe as deeply anymore,
Hmm.
which is another reason I think it's a posture thing.
Yeah.
Um,
That actually, that's actually kind of a deeper, but also very, uh, that's a good observation to make because it ties into some other stuff. But
okay.
let's talk about the specifics right now. Again, I'm not going to try to diagnose or treat any sort of actual injury, but give you an idea of maybe what might be contributing to this stuff. So,
Yeah.
is it more the palmar side of your hand, like this part, or the back of your hand?
It's honestly okay. I know I said hand. It's less my hand and more of my hand is just numb as a result of what I believe is my forearm. Um, like he said, Palmer, fucking
Like
sorry.
palmar back. That's
The whole thing
the
though.
whole thing.
It's
Oh,
around
okay.
the elbow. Usually when I can get my elbow moving and my shoulder moving, that's when it all opens up. Because it's
Gotcha.
not as much pain as it is impingement, I think is the word.
Okay, so just tightness, just like discomfort.
Yeah.
And so what stretches are you doing right now?
Um, ton everything. I don't know if you know Adam Fields, but I
Uh,
use him a lot
okay.
as well as let me see. Because there's a ton of different stuff I do. This is the one I've been doing recently. Let me link it for you. I just do this with either my massage gun or that one's actually helped a lot.
Okay.
And then I do the follow up stretches for the shoulder one.
Where do you do the massage gun? Show me.
Usually, sorry, am I opening? No. For this one, it goes all the way through. What's it called? Right here, the
The tech
pec
minor.
minor.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then usually over here, and then I'll do the subscap massage thing.
Okay.
Um, try to get in the backside. A lot of times I can't, or it's like awkward, so I just don't, and I'll just try to get infraspinatus or whatever.
Yeah, that's
Like
like the
I've
back.
learned all these muscles.
Yeah, yeah, back to your shoulder blade. So when
Um,
you massage gun and all that, you do all your stretches and all that, it feels a lot better. Um,
yeah,
do you still feel sort of that numbness feeling?
yeah. It's usually that I have to mobilize my shoulder, and then I still have to massage all the way down my arm because it still feels stiff here. I have
Okay.
to work out my elbow. It's like all the way. It takes me 2 hours just to feel like I can even maybe play league without being terrible.
Yeah, that is not
It's every
ideal.
day.
That's a
No.
lot.
Yeah.
Do you notice it's worse when you wake up?
Oh yeah. Specifically when I wake up, I feel
Okay.
there's a lot of days where I don't even want to start because it feels overwhelming. Like the process of getting to the point where I feel well enough to stream
Yeah.
and like not just be complaining.
Yeah. I mean, so two hours is honestly way too long to have to spend on any of that kind of stuff. If nothing else we can get to today is why don't we try to find out the root cause of what may be kind of underlying all this stuff, and then see if we can streamline that warm up into something like 15-20 minutes.
Yeah.
That'd be ideal, because if we can address directly, okay, I think it's a nerve issue, or I think, hey, you have some stiffness in your neck that's causing all this other stuff to tighten up. If we address the source of it, then everything else should be a lot
Yeah.
simpler. So it's about being more like, I think what you're doing is good, but it seems like you're kind of doing the throw the spaghetti at the wall, see what sticks, right? Like
Yeah.
you have
I
to do
mean, I do
so
that
much.
sometimes, even when well, it's because I accepted years ago that I will always like work out before I'm going to stream. So I guess I mentally like factor that into that 2 hours as part of that. A
Okay.
lot of stretching I do at the gym. Because I go work out, I stretch at the gym, then I work out, and then I'll spend another 30 to 45 minutes just trying to, especially that's when I get like, do like hand exercises, work around the elbow and stuff like that. But
Okay.
yeah,
Okay. All right. Well, let's start with a little bit of just kind of assessment here. I'm gonna have you turn your head all the way left and right. Obviously, you're not looking straight at me, so okay. But if you can turn and look
you
right,
want me to, yeah,
yeah,
okay.
turn and look to the right and left. When you do that, does it feel the same or different side to side?
Definitely a little bit of a, damn, I feel like it's not a good example because I'm like fully stressed right now.
No,
But
it's actually good. Yeah.
um, I would say that this side is a little bit of a little bit of strain. Actually, it's both. Damn,
Okay.
it's both.
When you look to the
Yeah.
side, where do you feel it?
Scalings.
That's all
Scalings,
tight
I
there.
think, are big.
That's all
Um,
tight. Okay. And then what about the other way?
yeah, and then it feels kind of stuck up here.
Okay.
It's in and around the like the base of my neck. I think this is scalings, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Like all these muscles going from your neck down into your ribs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay. What about looking up and down?
that one's better. The backside of yeah, looking down is not as easy as looking up, but
Okay, good.
yeah,
What about side to side, like tilting?
that one's not bad.
Not bad. Okay, good. So I'm kind of ruling out joint issues here. It seems more muscular, which is kind of what you already alluded to. Um,
Yeah.
if you go like this and just open up as wide as you can, yeah. What do you feel there?
I feel especially like when I do chest flies or something like that, it feels like I have to focus really hard on maintaining my arms being at the same height.
Hmm.
This shoulder is definitely more messed up or something than the other arm. It feels like it's kind of sinking, and like when I'm holding out here, the elbow too is
Yeah,
very like I have to focus really hard to keep that in the right spot.
got you. Okay. When you're doing cheer stuff, like a lot of the handsprings, holding people up, all that stuff, do you ever have issues with this stuff?
Yeah, well, I don't really do it anymore, but yeah, my last year it had gotten a lot worse over my last because originally I didn't have these issues until like 2 years into streaming.
Mm-hmm.
Because then I went back to cheer.
Mm-hmm.
First year was good, was okay. Kind of, and last year was pretty. Yeah, I
Okay.
spent a lot of time warming up.
Yeah, and then when you're working out, you're primarily doing like strength training.
Yeah, but I'll do mobility stuff and I'll run or walk for like 30 minutes before I even touch weights.
Okay. When you're
Like it's
weightlifting,
every day.
yeah, yeah. When you're
Yeah,
weightlifting, are you going heavy? Like what are your rep ranges, stuff like that?
it depends. I usually do power clean, squat, bench, overhead squat. I like, and I don't go super heavy. Nothing over 2 plates.
Well,
I
like
guess
what
bench is the most
I
ego
guess so
ego one.
rep like weight's kind of irrelevant. What's your rep range?
Rep range. Depends on the workout. I'd say 4 to 6.
4 to 6. Okay, so
Maybe
yeah, you're
usually eight
working
for bench.
you're working primarily in like a strength range then.
Yeah,
When was the last time you adjusted your parameters? Like when was the last time you switched your rep range up?
I switched up a lot. Like it's a lot of times it's just what I'm feeling like doing that day.
Okay.
But I'm
Okay.
usually 4 to 8 range.
Okay. Do you ever go higher, like 12, 15s?
No, no.
Okay, I was actually going to suggest maybe spending a month or two going up higher reps, mainly because when you spend a lot of time in that strength range, like 5 to 8, 3 to 5, like it's a
Yeah,
lot of strain on the muscle, and it actually I think can contribute a lot to just really really co-contracting as a default. Like when you pull heavy weight, you sort of have to engage all of your muscles at once, right? You get a lot of
Yeah.
co-contraction of the neck, of the, of all the muscles actually. But when you go lighter, it gives you an opportunity to kind of revisit form and actually build more cardiovascular endurance, not just for your heart and your cardiovascular system, but oxygenation supply to the muscles. And so you can oftentimes work in much fuller ranges of motion for more reps. You can get better blood flow to the muscles that might actually help loosen you up. Kind of similar to
Okay.
how when your legs are really stiff, if you just start hitting heavy squats, it's really hard to do anything. But
Yeah.
if you go for like a bike ride, right afterwards, you kind of feel loosened up.
Right.
It's the idea of like less intensity but more duration of time under load, and having more blood flow go to the area. It might actually help you kind of stretch actively.
Do you think that, well, because I warm up every whatever lift I'm doing, I'll warm up to the weight that I'm going. Do
Mm-hmm.
you think that there's an important like difference there
Yeah,
between
it's like
staying at that and
yeah, like
okay.
deloading, right? So like any bodybuilder knows, you kind of have to go through deload cycles. Or powerlifters probably are a better example. You can't be peaking every month.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of strain on your body, and it's a lot of strain on your central nervous system. So that kind of ties into some of these potential nerve issues. Is if your central nervous system is constantly under fatigue and under strain, you're going to be much more predisposed to, one, everything tightening up, and two, having a lot more just generalized fatigue and higher irritability of the nervous system. So I do think like
Okay.
every couple of months, it's really, especially with a primarily strength-based training program, it's really important to factor in, do I need a deload month? You know, spending even at least a few
Okay.
weeks where you just really reduce the workload, the intensity, and increase the volume. That might actually help you a lot. Like that's
Okay.
why, like going from heavy powerlifting to doing like a few weeks of just almost like calisthenics or like
Yeah.
Pilates, that kind of stuff, really actually helps a lot of high level athletes kind of recover after season. Um,
Interesting. What would be the split for that, like in your opinion, in sense of like if I want to prioritize strength training, would it be 2 weeks of strength training and then a week, or would it be a month to a week,
it, it, it it's hard to
or
answer
spend a
that.
month on
Yeah,
this?
it's hard to answer that without knowing some of the goals. So
Okay.
I personally will just switch my workout every 2 months.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what, I mean, fully switch though. So I'll go from like right now I'm in like a kind of a calisthenics. I'm taking a deload month from I went through 6 months where I did 2 months of endurance, 2 months of strength, 2 months of hypertrophy, full like actual bodybuilding circuit. And then after 6 months of that, I was like, I'm just like tired of actual weightlifting. So right now I'm
Yeah.
in basically calisthenics mode where I'll do some light strength training, but it's mostly aimed at developing stuff I want to work on, like my handstand or like my plank, stuff like that, or
I'll
planche.
help you with that.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd love some assistance on that. I have like ideas and I've gotten better at it, but there's just a lot where it's like I just
Yeah.
don't have stability, but it's like, consistency is everything. So I need to be doing it more often. But it's also in some sense, because it's fun for me, it's also a deload because I'm not stressing my body nearly as much when I did like 2 full months of
Right.
just heavy lifting. Uh,
Yeah.
and so, yeah, you got to think of it that way too. You're cycling, 2 months off. Maybe, I mean, for you, that's going to feel like a lot and it's going to honestly be probably kind of boring. So at least give yourself 2 to 3 weeks. I'd recommend a deload just in terms of training intensity. Number
Okay.
two, let's look at some of the mobility of the nerves. So you're gonna go like this. Oh, I'll mirror you. So it's gonna be your mouse hand going down, fingertips towards the floor. How does that feel?
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
okay. I mean, I definitely feel, what's this, the radial or the ulnar? The one that's medial, isn't it? Damn it, I
Median.
always mess that up.
It's all right.
I always mess those up.
Yeah,
Uh
it's probably your median nerve. This is a median nerve
yeah.
tensioning test. Now, when you do
But
that, if
again,
you feel it a little bit, right, I want you to try
yeah.
to bring your ear towards your opposite shoulder. How does that feel?
Yeah. I feel it. It gets specifically in like the scalene area, like
Okay.
around the traps.
Okay.
That's where it gets stiff, and I feel the back of my neck as well.
Okay.
And then always in the elbow joint. Like
Got
it's
it.
it's like I can feel a knot right there too.
Okay.
So it's like, yeah,
That actually points me to something else. But okay. Let's do this. Pinky behind the headset. How's that one feel?
yeah.
What do you feel there?
And that one's okay. Same back here,
A little bit of the
back of
elbow.
the elbow.
Do you feel
Yeah.
anything into the pinky, ring finger?
No, but
Okay.
as I said, it might be a little bit inaccurate because I do a lot of these in the morning.
Well, okay. And then what about grabbing your thumb, hand back behind you like that, fingertips up? or
Sounds okay. Still elbow.
turn like this, or like, yeah, like that, and then reach behind you. Yep, nothing there.
Front of my shoulder a little bit.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, but nothing down.
Yeah. When I actually push into it, it's like this whole, yeah.
Okay, nothing down the arm though.
In terms of nerve, like
Yeah,
sharp, no,
yeah,
nothing sharp.
like burning, tingling, nothing like that. Okay.
Nah.
All right. I mean, just based on your history too, I already suspect that you probably have some rotator cuff stuff going on. I mean, it's probably impossible for any gymnast slash anyone who does like what you did for that long to like not have those issues. But um, that's what I attribute to more of the shoulder type stuff when you go into that position. That's almost like an impingement position. So, um,
Yeah.
okay.
This whole thing is like because when I can get this freed up, usually my whole hand feels better.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
a lot of times I can't. I got to dig into the subscap. I got to get this whole back. Sometimes my girlfriend will give me massages and it'll free it. The other day I did exercises, the ones I linked below.
Yeah.
I did a couple of those, and that was like the freest I felt my shoulders in a long time.
Hmm.
Because I feel like I'm in a constant state of like
Okay.
tension. I don't know.
So yeah, tension in muscles, or muscle stiffness in my world generally involves either overuse or insufficient capacity. So you probably are honestly weak in certain areas. Like, do you do a lot of external rotation type strengthening, a lot of rotator cuff warm ups?
I've started to because I think I just have a bad habit of sitting in one spot and not moving and not realizing it. And I'm
Yeah,
also just very like when I'm playing League, I notice that I'm tensed up too.
yeah,
And,
yeah.
and there's days I do that all day, and it's just been years of it, you
I
know.
mean, even looking at, I remember when we talked way back, we had talked a little bit about your armrest setup, whether or not you could raise it, that kind of stuff. Yeah. So, are they right now when you play? Are you fairly lined up? Because I remember you also said you had a habit of leaning onto your mouse hand side.
Yeah, they're pretty lined up. Let me
Okay.
see if I can.
Yeah. Pretend like you're playing.
So it's usually like here. I'm usually like here, but a lot of times you know how it is. You're sitting here long enough, and you
Yeah.
kind of start to do one of those,
Yeah.
or
Yeah. Yeah. So,
yeah,
okay. I think the armrest setup and your tendency to want to hunch contributes a lot to this stuff. And then
yeah,
combined with strength training, you sort of have a natural tendency to probably want to co-contract a lot of this stuff. Like you mentioned, the breathing thing. The breathing thing is indicative to me that you have a lot of tension through here. You're probably
yeah.
a chest breather. You do a lot of breathing through the chest rather than
Yes, I
downward.
definitely
Yeah,
am.
through the
The
diaphragm.
diaphragm.
Yeah. So a breathing exercise you can try is doing those deep inhales. I don't know if you saw this, but I actually posted a video about this like earlier this last week, I think. But you do a diaphragmatic inhale, inflating into your stomach. When you exhale, you're tightening and drawing in the core, the abdominal muscles towards your belly button, and you're thinking about those diaphragmatic muscles pushing air out of your body. So you inhale, think of a balloon inflating downward into the belly. You exhale, you push the air outward.
Okay. And
Yeah.
that's the other thing I've noticed too is my core has gotten a lot weaker over the years,
Mm-hmm.
where I'm not. I'll sit here and I'm not engaging it,
Yeah.
and I can. I think that's part of. I assume that's part of why I'm starting the chest breathing,
Yep.
is because I'm
Yep.
sitting like that or like this, and I'm not engaging my core.
When you
So I've
sit,
been trying to
yeah,
do
when you
that.
sit and you slouch, you actually have less tidal volume or less lung
Yeah.
capacity than when you're sitting up straight. So I always advocate for kind of that two position variability of when you play, you sit away from the back of the chair and you play like this, right? When you have your feet under you and you get to the front half of the chair, your lower back will straighten out, all this stuff lines up. You're not gonna have that issue. When you're in between games is when you sit back and recline and you can slouch a little bit and just relax.
I've been standing actually.
Standing is an
My
option.
girlfriend got me
Nice. High
yeah,
low. There you go.
yeah.
You're gonna be
Feel the feet.
the next Yasuke like posture king.
I just noticed I feel better and I like my breathing too as well
Yeah,
when I'm standing.
exactly.
I can't slouch. So
You've aligned everything. Just make sure that it goes up high enough though where your shoulders are not hanging down because that's going to exacerbate a lot of the issues that you're having in the neck and in the shoulders. If your arms are lower than where they should be, you're going to be reaching down to play all this is going to co-contract and tighten. So you always
Yeah.
want a fairly neutral position. If you could raise the desk high enough when you're standing to, again, have these in a neutral spot, that's fine. The
Oh
other
yeah, I
thing,
never play with it up here.
yeah, the other thing, do you ever massage out this area right here?
Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot
This is
every
a
day.
really, really
The whole
common.
forearm,
Yeah,
both sides.
this specific area though is called the pronator. There's a muscle there, the
Yeah.
pronator it's sits right atop the median nerve. It's where the median nerve actually splits a little bit. You have
Hmm.
pronator syndrome, which can affect a lot of the issues into the hand and the motor action, as well as some of the sensory stuff just from the median nerve itself. So if you're having issues here, that's very common. The pronator pronates obviously. This is a position that your mouse is in, right? So a lot of times
Yeah,
gamers will have
it's the internal.
it's a lot of that pronation under stress, and you're using your mouse, and you're probably resting your arm. Pronator syndrome is probably the most common area of irritation for the median nerve because of the mouse use. So a stretch you can do in addition to massage gunning it there and all that. Make sure that when you massage gun it doesn't flare up your symptoms either. Uh, do supinations,
Oh yeah,
right? So bringing your pinky
I
up,
do.
yeah, and then you can do stretches this way.
I do these every day too. The 1 HP
Yep.
guy. Sorry, I just linked
Yeah,
another
yeah, yeah.
one.
No, that's a good one.
Like, I
Um,
do most of these every day.
when you do this stretch, think about bringing your fingers inward. Yeah, you're gonna feel
Inward
toward
that way.
towards the other arm. Yeah.
I feel it in my shoulder.
Yeah, I mean, and the other thing that you probably have to be aware of is based on the activity that you did prior to, right, outside of gaming, you're probably pretty mobile.
Yeah,
You probably have a lot more shoulder mobility than most people. So you got to make
I
sure
do.
you isolate, right? When you're rotating or pronating or supinating, nothing should occur at the shoulder. Pronation supination is an action of the radius and ulna. It's the radius
Okay.
going over the ulna or the radius going back from the ulna. The ulna itself doesn't
Yeah, I
move
do
at
these
all.
too.
Yeah. Um, yeah, so training supination will help. What I like is actually if you put
What
the
about
band,
weighted?
yeah, band on the pinky
Like
side,
on the pinky side?
flip
Oh,
it.
you stand
Yeah, like that,
there,
and then go like this. Yeah.
like in.
Yep. So you
You want
see,
arm straight?
yeah. So you see how the resistance though is pulling you into pronation. You're doing active supination to resist and push against that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good one.
Yeah, because that's going to turn on your
Okay.
supinators, which can hopefully theoretically deactivate the pronators a little bit. And then so
Yeah.
you want to be doing a lot of the strengthening stuff and then do the nerve mobility again. So the nerve glides, median nerve glide is still good. That's this one, or
So
this
start with
way.
the strengthening.
Hmm.
Okay. I do
Like
think I do the thing where I throw spaghetti at the wall, especially days where I get frustrated
yeah.
or I don't think I have a lot of time.
I'm gonna condense all this into a list for you two in order. So one,
Okay.
let's I kind of got a little bit chaotic here. Let's start head to toe and
Yeah.
give you the exact like here's
Sorry.
let's try this. No. So scalene
Okay.
stretches first.
Okay.
Oh, actually, you know what? Nah, I'm already screwed up. No, number one, we do diaphragmatic breathing. Diaphragmatic breathing. And I promise it's gonna take you less than like 20 minutes to go through all of it. Diaphragmatic breathing. And then we're gonna do scalene stretch and hold that for like 15 to 20 seconds. Okay, so diaphragmatic breathing is again breathing into the belly, exhaling, drawing in. You should do this very
Yeah.
gently. And when you do that, you want to think about the ribs relaxing down. So inhaling into the stomach, exhaling from the stomach. You don't want to see any sort of rib movement. It's all down here. Okay. And then the scalene stretch is the thinker stretch where you look up, you turn away, and you lean towards the opposite side. Yep. You should feel that all down the front of your neck. Front
Yeah.
side.
I
Yeah.
usually do the arm
Yep,
behind
exactly. You can lock the
and then
shoulder
the
blade down.
gentle.
That's fine. With these stretches, though, don't really crank on it. You want to feel it lightly.
Yeah.
Like this stretch should feel like a 4 out of 10. Very
Okay.
light. Because if you really tension those muscles, one, there's going to be sort of a reactive thing where they tighten up on you, and two, when they tension, the nerves are coming through those muscles. When you tension them, you actually pinch down. Right? It's like
Okay.
if you pull them tighter.
I've pinched a nerve in my neck
Yeah.
twice in the last year actually,
Yeah.
and I was definitely from that.
Yeah. Number three, pec stretch. So I like these ones, pec minor, or you can just do this. Basically, just trying to feel it in the chest. You should not feel a ton here. You can do a little bit there, but again, be really conscious about not overstretching.
Okay. Okay. To
Okay.
not flare it up.
Yeah. You want to be a lot gentler. This is one of those things where it's like the harder you go, the better it's not. It's not that it's
Yeah.
gonna be better, right? I have a lot of patients who, when they start
Yeah.
getting a lot of manual work, they're like, "Oh, you can go harder. I want you to like go like deep tissue." I'm like, "That's not the intent
Yeah,
here."
it's not. Yeah.
Because if you really get in there, those nerves are sitting directly under that
You're
muscle.
just gonna swell it up. Yeah.
Yeah, you just flare everything up. So gently, like massage through if you want. Massage gun is fine. Oh, I forgot to mention a rule with the massage gun: the higher the frequency, the more superficial. The lower the frequency, the deeper it goes. So
Interesting.
yeah, so
Okay.
a lot of people have it backwards. Like, oh, I want to really hit this. They crank up the like intensity of the massage gun. That makes it a
Yeah.
much more superficial massage. When you
Okay.
when you put the intensity down, the frequency is a lot lower. It's like that's gonna go way deeper pressure because you have more time for the tissue to actually move.
Okay.
Yeah. So smaller muscles, I would go high frequency. I would not go very, very low frequency and like pound it. Okay, and then we do the supinations. Supinations, active. I'll put active supinations with band. And we're going for 15 reps, and that's just twisting. And then you're gonna do median nerve glides.
Yeah, these guys, right? Or it's
Yep.
down and
Yeah, so
I usually do
I
these
mean,
like
there's a
yeah.
lot of ways to do it. You can go like this and just do a distal nerve glide. You can also do it like this where you bring your wrist towards you. And then as you go out, you bring your wrist down and away. Yeah, and then bring wrist towards you. This is a much gentler way to do it because as you tension this area, you're giving it slack here. As you tension this area, you're giving it slack there. So it's sort of like a flossing
Oh,
motion. Yeah. It's a little tricky to figure out at first, but once you get it, it's a lot more relaxing for the nerve. When you do
okay.
it this way, what you're actually doing is tensioning the entire nerve, and then you're
So
relaxing
you
it.
want the both sides of it where
Yeah,
you're
so
getting that.
yeah, so now you're alternating the tensioning and the relaxing at different joints.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. I've never heard that.
Yeah,
And
I
I've
mean
watched a
there's
stupid amount of videos on this.
there's so many different ways to nerve glide. I mean you can get as nuanced as like isolating specific joints. So something I'll do with patients is like if I decide the entrapment is somewhere around here, I might isolate that joint, do nerve glides here, with the distal end tension here, like mobilize here. There's so many ways you can play with it.
Yeah.
Not really necessary for you to understand that, but just kind of go by feel, right? You'll feel sometimes that, okay, if I go here and then I move, I really feel it. Work that range a little bit. And that's going to change. Some
Yeah.
days you're going to be here and you can work that range. Other days you kind of just want to keep this tension and just work through the elbow. It
Okay.
just varies. Every day is going to be a little bit different. Okay. Let
I
me send,
definitely
yeah.
think I fall into the group of people that you said that are like trying to really get, especially with the massage gun, they're trying to like get it really hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um a lot of days I'll do that because it gets frustrating. It's been every day where you wake up and it feels like you got to spend all this time.
Yep.
Um, I don't know. So I feel like I got to get better about that.
So let me I just sent that to you. So nerve irritation, this is 5 things. This is all I want you to do for that. All right.
Okay.
I think a lot of the irritation that you're feeling, a lot of the muscular tension, all that's actually going to be relieved a lot with just diaphragmatic breathing and changing your workout routine a little bit for a few weeks. Rotator cuff strength. This is a separate issue, but ties directly into what I think is just a larger ongoing problem, which is you probably have a lot of shoulder instability, even though your shoulder is very stable. Like you obviously have a very stable
Yeah.
shoulder with your ability to hold that much weight above your head, but I think that
No, it's
maybe
slowly but surely gotten weaker. Like my stunning's gotten weaker last year. It takes way more time to mobilize it. Like once I mobilize it, I feel like it's good, but especially like I lose range of motion coming across. I lose range of motion.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Again, range of motion loss without a pathologic reason, like you tore something or anything like that, that says to me that you're weak in certain areas. What your
Yeah.
body's going to do is it's going to tighten up weak muscles in order to restrict you from moving into ranges that it doesn't feel comfortable in. So, rotator cuff strengthening needs to be very specific. Basically, the 4 rotator cuff muscles operate in 3 motions. You have external rotation, which is done by the infraspinatus teres minor. You have internal rotation done by the subscapularis, and you have abduction or flexion done by the supraspinatus. We can train all 4 of those muscles with 3 movements. So Again, you're gonna go external rotation, internal
Am
rotation.
I holding it here or like
Let
palm
me
up?
let me get you a band. Hold on. Let me get you.
Yeah, give me one.
All right, we actually have a band. So
I got one attached to my headset thing.
external rotation. Maybe I'll just do it like this. You want palms up, outward. You're gonna start with your arms slightly within shoulder width, and you're gonna rotate outward about 45 degrees. That's it. The goal is to do this while pinching the shoulder blades back, rotating outward. You should feel this in the back of the shoulder. What you don't want to do is have your shoulders forward, right?
Right.
I would think bring
Oh,
your
my
elbows.
headphones died.
Oh.
Hold on. All right, let me switch the audio. Hello.
Yeah. So bring your
Sorry about that.
no worries. Bring your elbows forward. Rotate out. You're gonna do 15. With rotator cuff endurance training, I always want you kind of doing higher reps, 15 to 20. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
external rotation, internal rotation. You'll need to tie this to something, but let's assume that
that's
you're
already
sitting in a
tied.
doorway or something like that, right? You want it
Yeah.
outside of your body, like so, and you're gonna do the exact same motion but inward. You're gonna go from there to here. Right. And when you do this, imagine there's a towel here. I don't actually like putting a towel here because what happens is people start pushing into it. I like to
Yeah.
imagine there's a towel there. And when you rotate, you want to keep this thing moving through space as if it's on a hinge. It should be
Okay.
pure
I think I have
rotation.
a bad habit of like moving the shoulder
Yes,
with
yes.
it, or so
I
you want this thing locked in. It's
locked in.
hinging
It's
here.
hinging like a door. You're opening and closing a door that is your arm. I see a lot of people cheat. They'll do bicep curls like this. They'll do this. They'll do a whole bunch of this. Right? You don't ever want any of that to happen. You want a pure pivoting rotation movement through the humerus. And that's
Okay.
really, really hard for people. The other one is another external rotation movement, but you're going to be at 90 degrees. Right? So if I'm like this, I kind of videoed this earlier on Twitter too, but you're going to go here. You're going to rotate up like that. If this is anchored
Okay.
somewhere, right? So from the front, it's going to be 90 degrees rotating up, and actually it
That
should
hits
be,
the back infraspinatus or
yeah.
whatever.
Well, this is specifically going to be a lot more biased for the teres. So
Yeah.
they're both external rotators. One of them operates much more when you're in an abducted position than the other one. So yeah, I would make sure that the keys though is that you want the cable or the band to be. This is
Yeah.
gonna be a little tricky. I'm gonna do this. You want it to be when you rotate up aligned with your forearm. You don't want it like this way. You want it here. Does that make sense? The line of the band should be in line with your forearm. So when you're doing it right, it's gonna look like this. Right. So it's again a pure rotation. And what you'll find is a lot of people who don't have good stability of the shoulder. If you look at my point of the elbow here, they have a really hard time rotating it without moving
Yeah.
up and down, forward and back, right? Actual
Yeah.
rotation, you guys can try this too. Actual rotation or centration of the humeral head is really difficult for a lot of people.
No, it is for me, and I feel myself trying to. I have to focus really hard for like even just staying in a line here, like staying 90 in one line. I have to focus really hard, especially this side.
Mm-hmm.
The elbow will turn in and like all this.
Yeah.
It feels out of whack.
Yeah. So that's control. That's literally your brain not understanding how to control that joint through space. That's what I mean by instability. When surgeons
Yeah.
talk about instability, they mean structural instability. When PTs talk about it, they mean you don't have adequate control to create the sensation of stability in your shoulder.
No, I don't. Well, because
So,
I know what it feels like to have it, and I haven't had it for a while.
yeah, rotation with band, 15 to 20. We're going to do internal rotation with band, 15 to 20, and then external rotation at 90 degrees, 15 to 20, and then you're going to do the last one is abduction. So the way I like to do that with the band, you're going to stand with the band slightly less than shoulder width, all right, hands slightly in front of you, and you're going to think about pushing your hands outward and then slowly coming back.
Okay, but like in a line here, I'm going straight
Yeah.
to the side.
like 45-degree angle, and then come back.
Yeah.
And if you're doing this right, if you think about pushing outward, you're going to feel this more in the shoulder than up here. You should not have any trapezius engagement here. You want to think about keeping your shoulders down, just pushing out, not coming up. Okay.
Like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. How's that feel?
You see how my shoulders are sitting right now, though?
Yeah.
Like this is normal. Like this is natural. My
Uh-huh.
right shoulder feels like it naturally sits lower. Like
Most
that.
people, most people do. Most people, the dominant side will sit slightly lower than the non-dominant side.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
pretty normal. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So those are the four. Shoulder abduction with band. And again, 15 to 20. So that's just the most basic but solid shoulder warm up. You're gonna hit all four rotator cuff muscles, um, and really it's about developing control, right? Practicing rotational control is super important. So I will do this band one before every upper body day,
Yeah.
and I might train. I might adjust. I usually use the cable machine, but I will either adjust the line of pull so that it's more specific to a bench press versus an overhead. If it's an overhead, I want that line of pull out here so that when I'm getting peak force, it's at this position. And then I'll even
Okay.
practice going overhead like that, right? So like this. If I'm doing a bench press, I'll have the cable low, but I'll work in this range. I don't even go all the way up. I'll just go from this range to here because
Oh,
this
it
is,
takes me forever to start benching.
yeah.
I gotta get this whole thing backside around elbow. Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
I
Takes me
think
forever.
it just has to be simpler, and you probably need to work a little bit on
Definitely.
scapular control, but that's a whole
Yeah.
different issue. Starting with this stuff, I hope this sort of helps you at least get into the right track of not having to spend 2 hours warming up, right?
Yeah.
The entire nerve irritation series I gave you should be done in less than like 10 minutes. The rotator cuff series, again, if you do all of them in order, your entire shoulder is actually going to be pretty warm. That should take you
Yeah.
less than 10 minutes too.
Another one of my habits I think is a lot of times I'll because I know to do some of the like the shoulder band stuff. A lot of times what will happen is I'll start to do them and I'll feel like when I go here I'll feel it like back here and I'll start massaging this instead of doing that or
Yes.
finishing through
Don't do
that.
that.
I'll get distracted on it. Is that
Yeah.
just finish the
First, try to correct why you're doing that, right? So if you're doing like if I have a patient and they're doing this and I see a whole bunch of co-activation of their trapezius, you have to change that movement pattern first.
I just feel a knot.
Exactly. Well, you're firing something that you shouldn't be because you should be feeling that right here. And if you're feeling
Right.
all of this kick in and knotting up and tightening, you're co-contracting. You either need to drop the weight, you need to readjust your form, you need to try to do it differently. You need to see if okay, does that occur if I do it with no resistance? If it's occurring when you're doing it with no resistance, it's a co-contraction issue. You have to kind of learn how to not do that. That's a lot of what I do with patients at work is that it's not about training the muscle, it's actually about training the brain. We're trying to reprogram
Yeah.
the motor program of how your body likes to engage muscles and what sequence. A lot of people who have aberrant motor programs, they'll do stuff like that and it's just you just see this automatic rising up of the one shoulder for no reason. And it's like you have to mentally learn how to not do that.
Or like
And
my when I try to go to the forward, my elbow likes to drop or
well, yeah.
like
So, but if you a trick is stare at it, watch the elbow.
yeah.
You know? A lot of times proprioception isn't the or you don't have adequate proprioception. So if you visually look at it and give yourself more feedback, you can better assess how to do it and better control it. And then as over time, the better you get at doing that, then proprioception will kick in and you'll actually be able to do it without looking. That's kind of the goal. Uh, until you can master a movement uh, with looking at it, you can't do it without looking at it generally if you're seeing a lot of movement pattern issues.
Okay.
Okay.
One more thing, because I understand the concept of like the nerve glides versus stretching versus strengthening. What do you think is because a lot of times I'll do like I have little dumbbells and I'll do like for the front, these guys where I'm
Mhm.
strengthening the forearm and the hand. Is there a specific thing to focus on between the strengthening, the stretching, the nerve glides? I
Um,
feel like I get lost in all of it a lot of
yeah,
times.
I actually don't do a ton of really specific exercise like that, like forearms or things like that, unless I already find that I'm at a deficit. Like if I find that I have a weak point, then I specifically target that. If you're doing a lot of compound lifts, like, you're doing cleans, you're doing overheads, you're doing snatches, you're doing squats, bench press, all that. That stuff should kind of already be addressed. You don't need to
Yeah.
spend more time doing specific exercises for your forearms, for example, if you're already doing all that, unless you find that, hey, my flexors are way weaker than my extensors, and then you can spend some time addressing it. But in general, I think what you probably want to think about doing more is just full range of motion movements. So you could
Okay.
do like
Instead of overthinking.
global, yeah, you could do global, just like dynamic warm ups on both sides. Like, okay, this is what I call the greatest stretch in the world. You can actually Google it. Um, but basically, let me adjust down. You're gonna lunge and you're gonna reach for the back foot with your hand. You're gonna come up, reach for the ceiling the other way. This just stretches like everything.
Chest, hamstring,
Yeah, I mean,
hips,
yeah, back, tuck
shoulders.
rotation.
Okay, so okay, hold on.
Turn
So
up my
you're in a lunge like you're going for a split.
yeah. My opposite hand is down. My other
Opposite
hand
hand, and then you're
is
reaching up.
reaching up, reaching back to my toe. You're doing flexion extension. It
Where are
just
you aiming? Are you aiming for the knee with that hand?
yeah. I go down and reach for my back foot.
And then
Um,
what about your head and your neck? Are you going with it?
yeah, I follow that hand.
Okay.
Yeah, that just hits everything. That's why it's called the greatest stretch. It just addresses everything. So if you have, when in
Cool.
doubt, you can do like 10 of those on each side. Feels good. It's a good dynamic warm up. Just gets you going. Yeah, with the stuff that you're describing, what I would like to see more of in your program is just more active movement into full range of motion. A lot
Okay.
of times, static stretching, like people do this stuff all day and they never see improvement. The
Yeah.
actual answer for muscle length deficit or the tightness of the muscle is strengthen that muscle and then move it through active range consciously. That's how you actually get stuff to loosen up. Static stretching is only good for when you're really really tight as a result of training.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So walk more in the morning and
Yeah.
mobility in the
Yeah.
morning and less
It
because I do that too, where I'll
yeah.
stretch.
I've seen I've seen a good amount of people with your situation where they've sort of had so many issues that kind of accumulate over time. They have a ton of stuff they're trying to address, and it becomes
Yeah.
overwhelming because you're doing like 45 different things in three different directions. You've heard of nerve mobility, you've
Some
heard of
days I
muscle
don't
mobility.
feel like it even ends up working.
Yeah.
Some days it does, and then when it does, it's like that was different. Then I get
You're right.
confused on what to
Right.
focus on, and I get mad.
So,
Yeah.
so I would more heavily focus specifically on, am I going through active range of motion regularly? Am I maintaining the mobility? And then am I just letting things work the way they should by, not overusing certain areas? Just calm everything down and then self-assess a little bit more of like, okay, where do I feel that specifically? It's not all of the stuff is flared up at once. It's like, okay, this thing flared up when I did this. That tells you what you need to change, right? A lot of this stuff is related, but at the same time, a lot of this stuff is different issues.
Okay.
So yeah,
Yeah.
I sent you both of these lists. Let me I'll actually copy and I'll put it in the chat too. So if anyone wants to see it, nerve
Something else
irritation.
that sorry, I know I'm all over the place. Like TMJ and or sleep apnea stuff. I've actually felt some relief in the breathing from stuff like that.
Uh-huh.
Uh, and the neck, the TMJ stuff, like the chin
Yeah,
tucks and these guys, and that's
yeah,
helped my neck a little bit. But
yeah.
do you think that's related to that, or it's just a product of the other stuff?
Oh shoot, did I just accidentally screw this up? No, it's hard to say. So TMD or temporomandibular dysfunction is an issue of the TMJ, which is the joint. I'm not a TMD specialist, but a lot of TMD is oftentimes related to uh, you mentioned you might have sleep apnea. A lot of times it's related to grinding your teeth at night. You'll cause basically excessive pressure on the joint itself, and it gets very irritable. So if you haven't been, prescribed like a night guard or something, it's something to ask your dentist about. Possibly might help. I use the night guard at night a lot of nights, especially when I'm
Right.
stressed. I find I grind my well. She told me I grind my teeth. That's helped a lot with that because it also spaces your teeth out a little bit, which I find is actually helpful. When your teeth are like right clenched on each other, you have basically no space in the joint and you have no length of muscle. So muscle always functions better in the mid range. So having that little bit of space between your teeth actually helps it not be as irritable too. But
Gotcha.
yeah, TMD is kind of it's a more complex issue, and probably
I think it also might be a product of when I get the chest and the neck.
Mhm.
Like I think when I fix my just get all this moving, it's usually good anyways, so it's probably not an issue
Yeah. I
to
think a
focus
lot of
on.
that I think a lot of that's related and could be stress
Okay.
related, right? A lot of the patterns that you're describing,
Yeah.
tightness of the scalenes, shortness of breath, that kind of stuff, tightness in these cervical muscles and TMD, like that says to me you might have some stress going on, right?
Yeah, I'm tense a lot, even when I'm not thinking about it. Like I'll just notice that I'm just sitting like or like I'm clenching or
Yeah, yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know.
So one thing at a time. Start with that. I do think that the breathing actually should help a lot because it addresses a lot of this stuff right away.
Yeah.
It just sounds a little bit out there, but
No, it doesn't. I've
yeah,
done diaphragm breathing stuff before because I
yeah,
noticed that as well.
yeah. There's a lot of secondary benefits too, right? With
Yeah.
parasympathetic response, you'll sleep better, you'll have less stress.
My nervous system too, like
Yeah,
my yeah.
just function better. Cool. Any other questions?
No, I'm just sorry this took so long because I'm a mess.
No, no worries. It was good. If you have anything else specifically, feel free to reach out. But I hope this helps. Let me know how
I
it goes.
appreciate it, man.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for hopping on.
Yeah, thank you so much.
All right, take care. Bye.
You too.